In a kingdom locked in endless winter, where snow buries the fields and hunger shadows every home, the people whisper of one ancient hope, the great dragon of the Forbidden Valley, whose fire once cooled the rains and kept the land alive. Now the dragon is dying, its scales dull, its breath a whisper of smoke, and with every fading heartbeat, the frost creeps deeper. The village elders, desperate to save what remains, make a terrible decision. They send young Olivia, small and unresisting, into the valley, not as sacrifice in name, but because no one else will go. Her parents whisper promises of a quick return, though their eyes betray the truth they cannot voice. Olivia enters the cavern expecting teeth and fire. What she finds is a vast, weary guardian, betrayed centuries ago by human greed that wove a curse around its heart, dooming it to slow decay. As the dragon shares fractured tales of loyalty forgotten and mercy withheld, Olivia listens. In its dimming glow, she sees not a monster, but the lonely protector of a world that has turned against it. The cold grows fiercer. Ice seals the mountain paths. The elders, convinced the dragon's lingering agony only prolongs the curse, arm themselves to end its life, believing one final blow will shatter the binding and summon the sun once more. Olivia alone knows the deeper truth: the curse feeds on betrayal, not on the dragon's suffering. To break it, mercy must answer mercy. She must choose, flee back to the village that sent her away, or stand in the cavern's shadowed mouth, one small girl against her own people, defending the ancient being who has become her friend. A single act of kindness could heal a dying land, or doom it forever. The wind howled like a dying beast through the thatched roofs of Thornvale, carrying the metallic bite of snow that never melted. Inside the longhouse, 30 faces glowed sickly orange under the last sputtering rushlight. Breath fogged the air in sharp, hungry bursts. No one spoke until Elder Mara slammed her gnarled staff against the packed earth floor. "The dragon weakens," she rasped, voice scraping like frost on stone. "Last night the sky wept ice instead of rain. If it dies untouched, we all follow." Eyes darted. Children clung to mothers' skirts, fathers stared at calloused hands that had forgotten how to harvest. The legend was older than the oldest oak, Elindor, the fire-hearted guardian of the valley, whose roar once summoned thunderheads thick with life. For 3 winters the storms had failed. For 3 winters bellies had hollowed. "Then we send someone," muttered Torren, the miller, voice thick with something between fear and fury. "Someone small. Someone who won't fight the elders' will." Mara's gaze swept the room and stopped on the girl standing half-hidden behind her mother's hip. Olivia. 7 summers old, small as a winter hare, dark braids already dusted white from the day's endless flurries. She did not flinch when every head turned. Instead she lifted her chin, grey eyes bright and unreadable. Lyra, her mother, made a broken sound and clutched the child closer. "No. Not my girl. Every family starves the same," Mara said, not unkindly, but without mercy. "The valley needs a visitor. A voice. The old songs say the dragon listens to the innocent. Who else among us is still innocent?" Silence stretched thin and cruel. Olivia felt her father's hand settle on her shoulder, heavy, trembling. Rowan had once been the strongest man in Thornvale, now his ribs pressed sharp against his tunic. He knelt so their eyes met. "It's only a visit, little spark," he whispered. "You'll ask the dragon to wake the rains. You'll come straight home. I swear it on the hearth we built together." Olivia searched his face. She saw the lie there, not in his words, but in the way his mouth twisted, the way tears froze on his lashes before they could fall. Yet she nodded once, small and certain. When they wrapped her in the last goodwill cloak, her mother's, smelling faintly of rosemary and milk long gone, Olivia did not cry. She let them tie the hood beneath her chin, let them press a crust of rye bread into her mitten, let them lead her to the edge of the village where the path vanished into white. Her mother knelt in the snow and pulled her close. Lyra's heartbeat thundered against Olivia's ear, fast and wild. "Remember the song I sing when the blizzards come," Lyra murmured. "Sing it if you're afraid." Olivia nodded into the crook of her mother's neck. Then Rowan lifted her, set her on the trail, and stepped back. The wind snatched their voices away. She walked. Snow crunched beneath her boots like brittle bones. The world narrowed to white and grey and the distant shape of the jagged mountains that cradled the Forbidden Valley. Somewhere in there, Elendor waited, ancient, dying, perhaps already a corpse coiled around his own fading heart. Olivia's mitten tightened around the bread crust. She did not know what she would say when she found him. She only knew one thing with the bright, burning clarity of a child who has never yet learned to doubt herself. If the dragon was dying, someone had to sit with him while he did. Behind her, the village lights dimmed, swallowed by the storm. Ahead, a low rumble rolled through the earth, not thunder, not wind. Something alive answered. The dragon did not speak at first. He simply looked. Olivia looked back. Her knees trembled, but she did not run. Instead she lifted one small, mittened hand, not in greeting, not in surrender, just there. Open. The ember eyes narrowed. A long, slow breath stirred the air between them, carrying the scent of charred cedar and old iron and something heartbreakingly like grief. When the voice finally came, it was low, cracked, barely louder than the drip of melting ice. Why have they sent a child? Olivia's lips parted. No sound came at first. Then, soft as snowfall. Because I'm not afraid of you. The lie tasted bitter on her tongue. But the dragon only tilted his vast head, one scarred brow ridge rising in something that might have been surprise. Or sorrow. And in the silence that followed, the cavern seemed to hold its breath, waiting for whatever came next. The wind outside shrieked once more, clawing at the entrance like it wanted in. Olivia felt the cold nip at her back, sharp as teeth, but the space between her and the dragon stayed strangely warm, as though his presence pushed the winter back a step. Her mitten stayed outstretched until her shoulder burned. Slowly she lowered it, fingers curling into a fist to hide the shake. Elendor's gaze never left her face. The dull glow in his eyes flickered, once, twice, like a candle someone was trying not to blow out. When he spoke again, the words came slower, each one dragged from deep inside. You should run, little one. Most who come here never leave the same. Olivia shook her head. Snowflakes caught in her lashes melted into tiny pricks of wet. I promised I'd ask you something. About the rain. A sound escaped him, not quite a laugh, more a sigh that rattled loose pebbles across the floor. The rain. Always the rain. They think I hoard it like a miser with gold. Do you? The question slipped out before she could stop it. She bit her lip, expecting anger. Instead the dragon shifted, just a fraction. Scales rasped together like dry leaves. The movement sent a wave of warmer air rolling over her, scented with smoke and something sweeter, almost like pine sap under sun. No, he said quietly. I used to call it. Now I can barely remember how the sky used to answer. Olivia took a small step closer. The stone under her boots was warmer here, almost comfortable. She could see the faint cracks in his hide now, old wounds crusted with frost, veins of dull gold running through black scales like rivers gone dry. One wing lay half-folded, the membrane thin in places, torn in others. It looked painful. She reached out again, slower this time, and brushed the edge of a scale near his foreleg. It was rough, ridged, but warm beneath the chill. Elendor did not flinch. If anything, he leaned the tiniest bit toward her touch. Why are you dying? She whispered. The question hung there. For a long moment she thought he would not answer. Then his head lowered until his snout was nearly level with her face. Up close she could see the tiny fractures in his irises, the way the ember light dimmed at the edges. Because the world forgot how to be kind, he said. And I forgot how to forgive it. Olivia's throat closed. She thought of her mother's arms, her father's trembling hands, the way the elders' eyes had slid away when they chose her. She thought of the empty bowls at supper, the way the youngest babies cried without tears left to cry. I'm sorry, she said. The words felt too small. Elendor's breath washed over her again, gentle, steady. Do not apologize for what others have done. Sit, child. The night is long, and the storm does not forgive trespassers. He uncoiled just enough to create a sheltered curve against his side. The scales there were softer, almost velvety, radiating a low heat that made her fingers tingle. Olivia hesitated, then climbed carefully over the ridge of his tail. She settled into the hollow, pulling her knees to her chest. The wing folded over her like a living roof, blocking the draft, muffling the howl outside. For the first time since leaving home, the cold retreated. She leaned her cheek against a scale that pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat too slow to trust. "Will you tell me the story?" she asked into the dark. "The real one. About why the rain stopped." Elendor was silent so long she thought he had fallen asleep, or worse. Then, so softly she almost missed it. "If you stay, I will tell you everything." Somewhere deeper in the cavern, water dripped, slow, patient, like it had all the time in the world. Olivia closed her eyes. She stayed. The dragon's breathing slowed to a deep, steady rhythm that matched the drip of water somewhere far back in the cavern, slow, patient, endless. Olivia pressed her cheek against the warm scale beneath her, feeling the faint throb of something alive beneath the hardness. It wasn't like a heartbeat exactly, more like the last echo of one, stubborn and refusing to fade entirely. The wing draped over her blocked the worst of the wind's howl, turning the storm outside into a distant murmur, like voices arguing in another room. She did not sleep. Not quite. Instead she drifted in the strange half-light between awake and dream, listening to the cavern breathe around her. The air tasted different here, less sharp with frost, more heavy with memory. Every so often Elendor shifted, just enough to settle his coils more comfortably, and each movement sent a ripple of warmth across her back. Hours passed. Or minutes. Time felt slippery in the dark. Then the dragon spoke again, voice so low it vibrated through her bones. The curse began with a promise broken. Olivia opened her eyes. The ember glow in his gaze had steadied slightly, as though speaking gave him something to hold on to. "A long time ago," he continued, "when the first stones of your village were still green wood, a man came to this valley. He carried a child, sick, dying. He begged me to heal her. I did. I drew the fever from her lungs with my fire, gentle as a candle flame. In return he swore an oath on his blood, no harm would ever come to the guardian of the rains. No greed would touch this place." Olivia hugged her knees tighter. He lied? Elendor's tail twitched once, a slow lash that stirred dust motes into faint spirals. Not at first. But greed is patient. Years later his descendants returned, not with a sick child, but with chains forged of iron and ambition. They wanted my fire for themselves. To forge weapons. To melt snow into gold. They bound me with words and metal and something darker, something that fed on betrayal. Every broken promise tightened the chains. Every forgotten kindness dimmed the flame. The cavern seemed to grow colder for a moment, as though the story itself pulled winter closer. Olivia shivered inside the shelter of his wing. "And now," she whispered. "Now the fire gutters because the world has forgotten mercy." Elendor's voice cracked on the last word. "I cannot call the rains while the curse lives. And the curse lives while betrayal lives." Olivia thought of the elders' faces in the longhouse, hard, frightened, choosing her because she was small enough to send away. She thought of her father's trembling hand on her shoulder, promising a lie he could not keep. Her chest ached with something too big for 7 years. "Then I won't betray you," she said suddenly, the words bursting out fierce and bright. "I'll stay until the rains come. Or until you don't need me anymore." Elendor turned his head slowly until one massive eye filled her vision. The ember inside it flared, just once, bright and startled. "You would sit with a dying thing?" he asked. "I already am," Olivia answered. Silence stretched again, thick with something unspoken. Then, so quietly she almost missed it. "Thank you, little spark." Outside, the storm raged on, but in the hollow of the dragon's side, a fragile warmth held. Olivia rested her head against his scale once more and closed her eyes. This time, she let sleep come. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a single drop of water fell, and did not freeze. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a single drop of water fell, and did not freeze. Morning light, thin, pale, reluctant, crept through the cavern mouth like a thief afraid of being caught. It touched the scales along Elendor's flank, turning the dull black to faint charcoal and the gold veins to something almost hopeful. Olivia stirred first. Her cheek was numb from pressing against the warm scale all night, her fingers ached inside the mittens. She blinked against the grey glow, realizing the storm had quieted to a low moan. She was still alive. Still here. The dragon's breathing had not changed, slow, labored, each exhale carrying the faint crackle of dying embers. But when she shifted, the wing above her lifted just enough to let her sit up. Elendor's head turned slowly, one ember eye finding her in the half-light. No surprise this time. Only quiet recognition. "You stayed," he said. The words were rough, as if sleep had rusted them. Olivia nodded. Her throat felt dry, full of dust and unsaid things. She reached into her cloak pocket and pulled out the last apple, small, red, bruised from the journey. It had been meant for the walk home. She held it out on her palm. "I saved this," she said. "For you. If you're hungry." Elendor regarded the fruit. His nostrils flared, a thin thread of smoke curled from them. Then, impossibly gentle, he lowered his snout until the tip nearly brushed her hand. The heat from his breath warmed her fingers through the mitten. "I do not eat as you do, little spark," he murmured. "But the gesture, it has been centuries since anyone offered me anything without wanting something in return." Olivia's arm trembled, but she did not pull away. "Then keep it anyway. It's yours now." The dragon exhaled, a sound like wind through dry reeds, and the apple rolled gently from her palm to rest between two of his claws. He did not eat it. Instead he nudged it closer to her knee, as though returning the gift. "Eat," he said. "You are small. You will need it more." She hesitated, then bit into the fruit. Juice ran cold down her chin, the sweetness exploded on her tongue, sharp and startling after days of rye crust and hunger. She ate slowly, watching him watch her. When she finished, she wiped her mouth with the back of her mitten and looked up. "You're not going to eat me," she said. "Not a question." Elendor's laugh was a low rumble that shook loose snow from the ceiling. "No, child. I have not devoured the innocent in 1,000 years. And never the ones who come without chains." He shifted then, slowly, carefully, and curled the length of his body around her in a loose ring. Not trapping. Protecting. His tail formed a low wall at her back, his forelegs cradled the space where she sat, his wing draped overhead again, softer this time, like a canopy of night sky. The heat increased, steady and enveloping, chasing the last chill from her bones. Olivia leaned against the curve of his chest. She could feel the slow rise and fall beneath her, the faint stutter where the curse had scarred him deepest. She placed her small hand flat against a scale there, right over the place where the glow was dimmest. "Does it hurt?" she asked. "Always," Elendor answered. No self-pity. Just truth. She pressed harder, as if she could push warmth into the wound. "I'm sorry." "Do not be. Pain is old company. Your presence is new." Silence fell again, comfortable this time. Outside, the wind had dropped to whispers. Somewhere far off a raven called, harsh, lonely. Olivia listened to it fade. "Will you tell me more about the curse?" she asked eventually. Elendor's eye drifted shut for a moment, then opened again. "Later. First, rest. The valley is long, and the elders will not wait forever." Olivia frowned. "They said it was just a visit. They promised I'd come home." The dragon's tail twitched once, a slow, deliberate motion. "Promises are fragile things in Thornvale. I have learned that lesson well." Her stomach twisted. She thought of her mother's arms, her father's trembling voice. The way they had stepped back when she turned on the path. They wouldn't leave me here, she said. The words sounded smaller than she wanted. Elendor did not answer right away. When he did, his voice was softer than the snow settling outside. Some promises are kept by staying. Others by letting go. Olivia curled tighter against him. The apple core lay forgotten beside her knee. She closed her eyes again, listening to the slow thunder of his breath. And in the quiet between one heartbeat and the next, another drop fell, clear, unfrozen, echoing faintly through the stone. The mountain listened. So did she. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a single drop of water fell, and did not freeze. The cavern grew darker as the thin morning light retreated, swallowed by gathering clouds outside. Olivia sat up straighter, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Elendor's coils had not moved, he remained curled around her like a living fortress, the apple still untouched between his claws. She watched it for a moment, then looked up at him. You said later, she reminded him softly. It's later now. Elendor's eye opened wider, the ember inside flaring briefly before settling. He exhaled, stirring dust that danced in faint shafts of grey. Very well, little spark. Listen, then. His voice dropped lower, weaving through the shadows like smoke. Long before your village had a name, this valley was green. Rivers ran silver under my wings. I called storms from the sea when the land thirsted. Men came then, not to take, but to thank. They left offerings of woven reeds, carved stones, songs carried on the wind. I guarded them because their joy fed my fire. I was not alone. Olivia leaned forward, mittens clasped tight. What changed? Greed wears many faces. First it whispered. Then it shouted. One man, your ancestors' kin, saw my fire not as gift but as power. He forged the first chain, spoke the first lie. We need only a spark, he said. For our forges. For our wars. They bound me while I slept. The curse took root, every betrayal dimmed me. Every forgotten promise stole breath. Now the land starves because I starve. His tail shifted, scraping stone. Olivia felt the vibration through her bones. She swallowed. My village, they are scared, she said. The babies cry all night. My mother sings to them, but the songs get shorter every winter. We play games in the snow, fox and hare, hide behind the woodpile, but even that stopped when the drifts got too deep. I used to pretend the snow was sugar, lick it off my mitten. It tasted like nothing. Elendor tilted his head. And the cold? Does it frighten you most? Olivia nodded once, small and honest. It creeps inside. Like fingers under my cloak. I dream sometimes that it takes Mama and Papa while I sleep, turns them to ice statues. I wake up crying before I remember they are still breathing. A pause. Then, softer, fear is honest. It keeps the heart awake. She looked at him, really looked. The dull scales, the torn wing, the slow blink of eyes that had seen too much. You're scared too, aren't you? The dragon stilled. For a heartbeat the cavern held only the drip of water. Yes, he admitted. Of fading alone. Olivia reached out and placed her hand flat on the scale over his heart. It was cooler here, the glow faint. She pressed harder, as if she could share her own warmth. Then don't, she said. I'm here. Something shifted in the air, subtle, like a door creaking open. Elendor's chest rose higher. A spark jumped along the gold vein nearest her palm, bright and sudden. The ember in his eye flared, not dimming this time. It brightened. Olivia laughed, a small, surprised sound that bounced off the walls. The spark leaped again, stronger. A faint crackle, like dry wood catching. The cavern warmed by a single degree, frost retreated an inch from the nearest wall. She laughed again, louder, delighted. The fire answered, brighter still, flickering along his scales like dawn breaking underground. Elendor's voice came rough with wonder. Your laughter, it calls what words cannot. Olivia's cheeks flushed. She kept her hand there, feeling the pulse quicken beneath her fingers. Tell me another story, she whispered. One with a happy part. Elendor lowered his head until his snout nearly touched her hair. There was a girl once, he began, small as you, who climbed my back when the world was young. She laughed at storms. The sky laughed back. Olivia closed her eyes, listening. The drip of water came faster now, 2 drops, then 3, each one echoing clearer in the growing warmth. Outside, the wind howled on. But inside, something small and stubborn began to burn. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a single drop of water fell, and did not freeze. The faint fire along Elendor's scales steadied, no longer jumping but glowing soft and constant, like coals banked for the night. Olivia's laughter faded into quiet breaths. She rubbed her arms, the cold creeping back now that the moment had passed. You are shivering again, Elendor observed. His voice held no reproach, only fact. I'm okay, she lied, teeth chattering on the last word. He shifted, slow, deliberate, and the cavern floor trembled faintly. With a low scrape, he nudged aside loose stones and reached one massive claw toward a shadowed alcove. Moss grew there in thick, velvety patches, untouched by frost. He gathered it in careful scoops, piling it high between his forelegs. Then, with surprising delicacy, he peeled a few loose scales from his flank, old ones, already shedding, warm as sun-baked clay. They clinked softly as he laid them into the moss, creating a shallow bowl lined with green and gold. Come, he said. Olivia crawled forward on hands and knees. The nest smelled of earth after rain and faint cedar smoke. She sank into it, the moss gave beneath her like a feather bed, the scales beneath radiating steady heat that seeped through her cloak and into her bones. She curled on her side, knees drawn up, face half buried in the wool of her hood. Elendor lowered his head until his snout rested near the nest's edge. His breath stirred her hair, warm, rhythmic, scented with ancient forests. Close your eyes, little spark. She did. The world narrowed to the rise and fall of his breathing, the soft crackle of his inner fire, the drip 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 that now came steadier, almost musical. Then he began to hum. The sound started deep in his chest, low and resonant, like thunder trapped underground. It rose slowly, weaving into a melody older than stone, simple notes that rose and fell like waves on a forgotten shore. No words, only feeling, protection, sorrow, the memory of green summers long gone. The hum wrapped around her tighter than any blanket, chasing shadows from her mind. Olivia's shoulders relaxed. The ache in her fingers eased. For the first time since the elders had chosen her name in the longhouse, the knot of fear in her chest loosened. She felt small, yes, but not alone. Not cold. Safe. Her breathing slowed to match his. The hum softened, becoming a lullaby carved from time itself. She drifted toward sleep, the nest cradling her like arms she had never known. But then, faint, far off, a new sound cut through the melody. Voices. Muffled by wind and stone, yet unmistakable, men's voices, low and urgent, calling to one another. Boots crunched on snow. A torch crackled somewhere near the valley mouth. Olivia's eyes snapped open. Elendor's hum stopped mid-note. His head lifted, nostrils flaring. The ember glow in his eyes dimmed to wary slits. They come, he murmured. Olivia sat up fast, heart slamming against her ribs. The elders? Scouts, perhaps. Or more. His tail curled tighter around the nest, shielding her from the cavern entrance. They grow impatient. She clutched the moss beneath her fingers. The warmth of the nest suddenly felt fragile, borrowed. Outside, the voices grew clearer, names called, echoes bouncing off rock. Olivia. Her mother's voice, raw, desperate, pierced the dark. Olivia's breath caught. She looked up at Elendor, eyes wide. What do we do? She whispered. The dragon's gaze met hers, ancient, steady, and suddenly fierce. We wait, he said. And we decide together. Another voice, Torren the miller, sharp with fear, the beast has her. I can smell smoke. Torches flared brighter at the cavern mouth, casting long, dancing shadows across the stone. Olivia reached out and gripped the edge of Elendor's scale, small fingers digging in. The nest's warmth held. But the night had just grown teeth. The nest's warmth held. But the night had just grown teeth. The voices sharpened, slicing through the cavern mouth like knives. Olivia! Answer if you can hear us. Lyra's cry cracked on the last word, wrought with something between hope and terror. Torches bobbed closer, orange flickers against the black stone, casting jagged shadows that danced across the walls like predators circling. Elendor's coils tightened around the nest, scales rasping softly. His wing lifted a fraction, shielding Olivia more completely, but she felt the tremor in his frame, the low, almost inaudible rumble of worry deep in his chest. They come armed, he murmured, so quiet only she could hear. Spears. Torches. The scent of pitch and fear. Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs. She pressed her palms to his scale, feeling the sudden stutter beneath. Mama, the word slipped out, small and broken. Far below, in Thornvale's longhouse, the air hung thick with smoke and despair. Lyra sat on the hearthstones, knees drawn to her chest, staring at the empty spot where Olivia had stood only 2 days before. Rowan paced behind her, boots scuffing grooves in the dirt floor. His hands flexed and unflexed, knuckles white. She should be back, Lyra whispered. She promised she'd come back. Rowan stopped. She didn't promise. We did. The door banged open. Elder Mara entered, staff thumping, followed by Torren and 3 others, faces hard, cloaks dusted with fresh snow. Torches hissed in their hands. No sign, Mara said flatly. The valley mouth is silent. No footprints returning. Only smoke rising from the cavern. Torren's voice cracked like dry wood. The beast has her. Swallowed her whole, or worse, keeps her to torment us. Lyra surged to her feet. She's alive. I'd feel it if she wasn't. Mara's eyes narrowed. Feelings don't fill bellies. The dragon weakens, the curse tightens. If it dies slowly, the land dies with it. We cannot wait for a child's mercy to save us. Rowan stepped forward, voice low. You sent her. You said it was a visit. And you let us, Mara snapped. Now we finish what we began. Torches. Spears. We end the beast tonight, before the next storm buries what little we have left. Lyra's breath hitched. No. Not while she's there. Torren turned on her. If she's still breathing, she's bait. We burn it out. If she isn't, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. In the cavern, Olivia felt the shift before she heard it. Elendor's breathing quickened, shallow and sharp. His tail curled tighter, pressing her gently but firmly against his side. They mean to kill me, he said. No fear in the words. Only weary acceptance. And they will not ask questions first. Olivia's eyes stung. She looked toward the entrance where torchlight now bled steadily inward, painting the stone in flickering blood. They are scared. Like me. Like you. Elendor's eye met hers, ancient, steady, sorrowful. Fear makes men cruel. It always has. She swallowed hard. What if I talk to them? Tell them you're not. A shout cut her off, closer now. There. Smoke. The beast stirs. Boots scraped rock. Metal clinked. The torchlight swelled, throwing long spears of shadow across the cavern floor. Elendor rose slowly, uncoiling just enough to stand between Olivia and the entrance. His wings half spread, torn membranes trembling. The faint glow along his scales flared, defensive, protective, but dim. Stay in the nest, he rumbled. Whatever comes, do not move. Olivia clutched the moss, heart hammering. But. No buts, little spark. His voice softened, almost tender. If they see you first, they may hesitate. If they see me first. He did not finish. The torchlight reached the threshold. Faces appeared, silhouettes against the orange glare. Lyra's voice broke through, desperate. Olivia? Baby, are you there? Olivia's lips parted. The word lodged in her throat. Elendor's growl started low, vibrating through the stone. And in the nest, the moss grew suddenly warmer, as if the dragon's fire, sensing the threat, had found one last ember to burn. The voices surged forward. The night decided to bite. The night had just grown teeth. Torchlight flooded the cavern entrance, harsh and unsteady, throwing long spears of orange across the stone. Elendor's growl deepened, vibrating through the nest until Olivia felt it in her teeth. She pressed herself lower into the moss, heart pounding so loud she feared they would hear it. Olivia. Lyra's voice broke again, closer now. Please, baby, say something. Torren's shout cut through, the smoke thicker. The beast's awake. Elendor's wing lowered fully, sealing her in shadow. His voice came soft, urgent, meant only for her. Stay hidden, little spark. Do not move. Do not speak. But Mama, Olivia's whisper cracked. If they see you with me, they will fear betrayal more. Wait. Boots scraped nearer. Shadows lengthened, 5, 6 figures at the threshold. Spears glinted. Torches hissed. Elendor rose higher, wings half spread, blocking the view into the cavern depths. His scales caught the torchlight, flaring dull gold for an instant before dimming again. Stay back, he rumbled, loud enough to echo. The child is safe. Leave this place. Gasps. A spear clattered against rock. Lyra's sob pierced the air. Olivia? Is that you? Are you hurt? Olivia bit her lip until she tasted blood. Tears burned her eyes. She wanted to run to her mother, to bury her face in Lyra's cloak and pretend none of this had happened. But Elendor's warmth pressed against her back, steady, protective, and she stayed. Mara's voice, cold as the frost outside, lies. The dragon speaks to save its hide. We end this now. A spear whistled, clanged harmlessly off Elendor's shoulder scale. He did not flinch. Olivia whimpered. The nest grew hotter beneath her, as if his fire answered her fear. Then, softer than breath, Elendor spoke only to her again. Breathe, little spark. Listen to my heart. Feel it slow. Yours will follow. She pressed her ear to the scale under her cheek. The throb was there, slow, deep, stubborn. She matched her breathing to it, in, out, in, out. The panic eased a fraction. The voices outside argued, sharp, frightened. Torren wanted to charge. Mara urged caution. Lyra begged them to wait. Olivia lifted her head just enough to peek through a gap in Elendor's wing. Her mother stood at the front, torch trembling in her hand, face streaked with tears and soot. Mama, Olivia breathed, too quiet to carry. Elendor's tail curled tighter around the nest. They will not harm you while I stand, he promised. But if they strike true. He left the rest unsaid. Another spear flew, grazed his wing, tearing fresh membrane. Elendor hissed, low and pained. The glow along his scales flickered wildly. Olivia's hands flew to her mouth. Stop, she cried before she could stop herself. The cavern fell silent. All eyes turned toward the sound, small, trembling, unmistakable. Lyra's torch wavered. Olivia. The girl froze. Elendor's growl softened to a warning rumble. Easy, little spark. They heard you. Torren stepped forward. She's alive. The beast has her prisoner. No? Olivia called, voice shaking but clear. He's not hurting me. He's keeping me warm. Mara's laugh was brittle. Child, dragons lie. Come out. We'll take you home. Olivia looked up at Elendor. His eye met hers, steady, sorrowful, trusting her to choose. She swallowed. I'm staying, she said, louder this time. Until the rains come. Until he's not dying anymore. Silence stretched, thick and dangerous. Lyra took one step forward, torch lowering. Baby, please. Olivia's throat closed. She reached through the gap in the wing and waved her small mitten once, visible, pleading. I'm okay, Mama. Really. He's my friend. The word hung in the air. Friend. Elendor's breath hitched, just once. Outside, torches wavered. Faces shifted, confusion replacing fury in some eyes. Mara gripped her staff tighter. Enough. We finished this. But Lyra did not move. She stared into the dark, searching for her daughter's face. And in the nest, Olivia felt the scale beneath her palm grow warmer, brighter, by the smallest degree. The standoff held. No one moved. No one spoke. Only the drip of water, faster now, echoed through the cavern like a heartbeat counting down. The drip of water, faster now, echoed through the cavern like a heartbeat counting down. Lyra took another step forward, torch trembling so violently the flame nearly guttered. Olivia, come to me. Please. Olivia's fingers dug deeper into Elendor's scale. The warmth there pulsed stronger, matching her racing heart. She felt the dragon's tension coil through every muscle beneath her, ready to shield, to strike if needed. But he held still, wings half spread, a living wall. Mara raised her staff. Enough games. The child is bewitched. We take her by force if we must. Toren nodded grimly, spear leveled. For the village. For the rains. No? Olivia's voice cracked through the standoff, small but piercing. Don't hurt him. The torchlight wavered. Faces turned toward the sound, toward the shadowed hollow where the girl's voice came from. Lyra's knees buckled. She dropped to the stone, torch clattering beside her. Baby. Olivia peeked further through the gap in Elendor's wing. Her mother's face was gaunt, eyes hollow with grief and sleepless nights. The sight twisted something deep in Olivia's chest. Elendor's voice came low, only for her. They see only the monster. Not the guardian. Not you. She swallowed. Then let me show them. Before he could protest, she pushed gently against his wing. It lifted, just enough. She stepped out into the open, small figure dwarfed by the dragon's bulk, mittens clenched at her sides. The cavern fell deathly quiet. Lyra gasped. Rowan, silent until now, staggered forward a step, hand outstretched. Olivia. I'm okay, Olivia said, voice steadier than she felt. He didn't hurt me. He kept me warm. He told me stories. He's dying, Mama. Because of us. Mara's eyes narrowed. Lies from a dragon's tongue. No, Olivia shook her head. He told me about the curse. How long ago people promised not to harm him. They swore on blood. Then they came back with chains. They wanted his fire for themselves. Every lie, every broken promise, it tightened the chains. It stole his power. That's why the rain stopped. Not because he's cruel. Because we were. The words hung heavy. Toren's spear lowered an inch. Lyra's tears fell freely now. Elendor spoke then, voice rumbling soft but clear enough to carry. The child speaks truth. The curse feeds on greed. On taking without giving. On forgetting mercy. Olivia turned to him, eyes shining. Sending me here, that was greedy too, wasn't it? You needed help, but they sent me because I was small. Easy to give away. Like I didn't matter as much as the rains. Elendor's eye softened. You matter, little spark. More than they know. She faced the villagers again. I won't leave him. Not until the curse breaks. Not until the rains come back. If you kill him, you kill the land. And you kill me too, because I won't forgive you. Silence stretched, brittle as ice. Lyra rose slowly, torch forgotten on the ground. She took one step, then another, hands open. Olivia, come home. Olivia shook her head. Not without him. Rowan's voice broke. We thought it was the only way. It wasn't, Olivia said quietly. There's another way. Trust. Mara gripped her staff tighter, but the fire in her eyes flickered, uncertain now. Toren looked at the spear in his hand as if seeing it for the first time. He let it fall. The clatter echoed. Elendor lowered his head slightly, wings folding. The glow along his scales steadied, brighter by a fraction. Olivia stepped back toward him, small hand reaching up to rest on his snout. I promise, she whispered to the dragon. I'll help you. Whatever it takes. Elendor's breath washed over her, warm, gentle, grateful. I know, little spark, he murmured. I know. Outside, the wind dropped to nothing. In the cavern, another drop fell, clear, unfrozen, ringing like hope against stone. The villagers stood frozen, torches dimming. No one moved to strike. No one moved to leave. The standoff held, but something had cracked. And in that crack, the first faint promise of rain began to gather. The first faint promise of rain began to gather. The villagers lingered at the cavern mouth, torches guttering low, faces carved with uncertainty. Lyra remained kneeling, eyes fixed on her daughter's small silhouette against the dragon's bulk. Rowan stood beside her, one hand on her shoulder, silent support, silent regret. Mara's staff tapped once, impatient, but no one moved to advance. Olivia turned back to Elendor. The tear in his wing membrane, fresh from the spear graze, oozed a thin, silvery ichor that shimmered like frost in the torchlight. It dripped slowly, staining the stone dark. You're hurt, she whispered. Elendor's eye flicked to the wound, then away. Old scars. This one is new. It will mend. Olivia frowned. She unwound her scarf, the soft wool one her mother had knit last winter, blue as a remembered sky, and stepped closer to the torn membrane. The dragon tensed but did not pull away. Hold still, she said, voice firm the way her mother's was when she bandaged scraped knees. She pressed the scarf gently against the tear, dabbing at the ichor. It was cool at first, then warmed under her touch, as though her warmth called to his. Elendor exhaled, a long, shuddering breath, and the faint glow along his scales brightened where her fingers rested. Heat bloomed from the wound site, spreading to her palms, chasing the last numbness from her hands. She wrapped the scarf carefully around the tear, tying it in a clumsy knot. The wool darkened with ichor but held. When she finished, she stepped back and looked up at him. Better? Elendor flexed the wing once, slow, testing. The membrane stretched without fresh pain. The glow steadied, stronger now, pulsing in time with her heartbeat. Much, he murmured. Your kindness, it suits more than any herb. Olivia's cheeks warmed. She rubbed her hands together, marveling at the lingering heat in her palms, like holding sun-warmed stones after a long winter. Behind her, Lyra rose slowly. Olivia, we'll come back tomorrow. With food. With blankets. We won't leave you alone. Rowan nodded. We swear it. No more spears. Mara scowled but said nothing. The group retreated step by step, torches dimming as they vanished into the night. The cavern fell quiet again, only the drip of water, faster now, and the soft crackle of Elendor's renewed fire. Olivia returned to the nest, curling into the moss. Elendor lowered his head beside her, snout close enough that she could feel each warm breath on her hair. Sleep, little spark, he said. The night is yours. She closed her eyes. Exhaustion pulled her under fast. In the dream, the valley was green. Rivers ran silver and swift between banks thick with wildflowers, purple, yellow, white. Grass bent under a soft wind. Children laughed, chasing one another through meadows that stretched to the horizon. Above, storm clouds gathered, not angry, but generous, bellies heavy with rain. Lightning flickered gentle, like distant laughter. Elendor flew overhead, wings whole and shining, scales bright as molten gold. He roared, not in pain, but joy, and thunder answered with welcome. Rain fell in silver sheets, soaking the earth, filling the rivers, waking seeds long buried. Olivia stood in the center of it all, barefoot, scarf still tied around her wrist. The rain touched her skin like cool fingers, washing away cold and fear. She laughed, loud, free, and the land laughed back. Flowers bloomed at her feet. Trees stretched taller. The sky cleared to endless blue. Elendor landed beside her, massive head lowered. His eye was bright, no longer dimmed. "You kept your promise," he said. She reached up and touched his snout. "We both did." The dream held her gently, warm and vivid, until the first pale light of true morning crept into the cavern. Olivia stirred, smiling even before her eyes opened. Beside her, Elendor's fire burned steadier, brighter, than it had in centuries. And on the stone floor, where her scarf had dripped thicker the night before, a single green shoot had pushed through a crack, tiny, defiant, alive. And somewhere deep in the mountain, a single drop of water fell, and did not freeze. The green shoot in the crack of stone stood taller by morning, its tip already unfurling a second leaf, tiny, impossibly vivid against the grey. Olivia knelt beside it, breath fogging in the chill that still clung to the cavern despite Elendor's steadier fire. She touched the leaf with one finger, it felt soft, alive, like velvet under dew. "Look," she whispered. Elendor lowered his head. His eye widened, the ember inside flared bright for a heartbeat. "Your kindness grows roots," he said, voice rough with something close to awe. Olivia smiled, small and tired. Maybe the land remembers how to hope. But the hope felt fragile when the distant rumble came, not thunder, but boots. Many boots. Marching in rhythm across frozen ground. Elendor's nostrils flared. His tail lashed once, low and tense. "They return," he murmured. "More than before." Olivia's stomach dropped. She scrambled to her feet. "How many?" "Enough to end me." He moved swiftly for his size, coils sliding over stone with barely a scrape, and nosed her toward a narrow crevice high in the wall, half hidden behind a jut of rock veined with quartz. "In here? Quick!" She hesitated. "But..." "No arguments, little spark. If they see you first, they may hold back. If they see only me..." He did not finish. His wing brushed her gently, urging her forward. Olivia climbed. The crevice was tight, cold stone pressing her shoulders, but she squeezed inside until only her face peeked out. Elendor positioned himself directly in front, massive form blocking the view like a living gate. His scales caught the weak light, glowing faintly, brighter than yesterday. The march grew louder. Voices carried now, angry, frightened, overlapping. Smoke still rises. The child must be dead. Or worse, enthralled. Olivia's heart hammered against her ribs. She pressed her cheek to the stone, peering through the narrow gap. They came into view at the cavern mouth, 20, perhaps 30 figures bundled in furs and cloaks, torches blazing despite the daylight. Spears glinted. Axes hung at belts. Elder Mara led them, staff raised like a banner. Behind her walked Torren, face set hard. And then... her parents. Rowan and Lyra walked near the rear, shoulders hunched, steps dragging. Lyra's eyes were red-rimmed, cheeks hollow. Rowan carried a small bundle, blankets, bread, clutched to his chest like a shield. Neither looked up. Their faces were carved with sorrow so deep it made Olivia's throat close. "They are sad," she breathed. Elendor's ear flicked toward her whisper. Grief is heavier than steel. Mara halted at the threshold. Torchlight threw her shadow long across the floor. Dragon, she called. We come to end this. Give us the girl's body if she still breathes. Spare us the need to burn you out. Elendor's growl rolled low, vibrating through the crevice into Olivia's bones. The child lives, he answered. And she chooses to stay. Gasps rippled through the group. Lyra's head snapped up. Olivia? Olivia's fingers dug into the stone. She wanted to call out, to run to them, to hug her mother until the sadness melted away. But she stayed hidden, heart pounding so hard she feared they would hear it. Rowan stepped forward, voice cracking. If she's alive, let us see her. Please. Mara raised a hand. No tricks. We know the tales. Dragons twist minds. She may be lost to us already. Olivia's eyes stung. She looked at Elendor's back, broad, scarred, shielding her, and felt something fierce rise in her chest. They're wrong, she whispered to him. I'm not lost. Elendor's tail curled slightly, protective. I know, little spark. Torches advanced another step. Spears leveled. Mara's voice sharpened. Last chance, beast. Stand aside. Elendor's wings spread slowly, torn membrane taut, glowing brighter now. The cavern warmed, frost retreated another inch from the walls. Olivia peeked again. Her mother's face was pale, desperate. Rowan's hands trembled on the bundle. She swallowed. The green shoot beside the nest trembled faintly, as if listening. The standoff stretched thin as ice about to crack. And somewhere in the valley, the wind shifted, carrying the scent of coming rain.